I think all of us at one time or another as kids tried to imagine, what if my house turned upside down? What if I could walk on the ceiling? Or at least I know I did.
What the fork? Who are you?
I'm Songbird. Welcome back to Songbird Gaming. I make videos about Ark, building, tutorials, and modded gameplay. Anyway, I'm planning a Halloween party for the Architect Steam cluster, and I decided to try to tap into that whimsical and yet dizzying feeling of creepy wrongness.
Most everyone's mad here.
I think we're in the bad place.
More of a creepy fun house rather than an outright haunted house or horror film feel. So I made this house first and learned a lot in the process. That video is linked in the description and at the end of the video. But when I posted pictures on Facebook and Twitter, a lot of people were asking if it's possible to do it in vanilla without mods. Anyone who's seen my videos knows that I love mods and I much prefer to build using them. But I was curious if it was possible. My friend and fellow architect Vlad had posted a video on how to flip a ceiling upside down in vanilla. So I wanted to try to follow that tutorial and then combine it with what I learned building the last house to make
Another one.
hanging from the roof of a cave. This is on the same server as before, so this server has mods, but I didn't use any modded pieces in this build. It does require clipping to be enabled though, so it won't work on official. And I did use admin commands such as creative mode and ghost mode. So this will work on single player or on a server where you have admin privileges. I'm going to speed up the building here because this took me a few hours to build.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Make sure to hang in there until the end when I show the inside of the build with some decor and some other sneak peeks around the Halloween party build. Alright, here we go. So I wanted to pillar up from the floor of the cave to the ceiling so that I could make sure to line up the build up there the way that I wanted. This is the location of the cave, 33.2 by 50.7 on the center. It's one of the bear caves that has two entrances. When considering an upside down build, there's two main problems you have to solve. One is the foundation support for the structure, because if it's upside down, well, obviously the roof will not act as a foundation. And if it's hanging from the ceiling of a cave, then the ceiling of a cave doesn't count as ground for purposes of foundation support. You can't snap pillars or foundations to the roof of a cave, but I was lucky that in this particular cave, just inside the mesh in ghost mode, not too far from the roof of the cave, there were other ground structures that did count as foundation support. So since I had other pillars and foundations snapped up there, I decided to test it. And yep, sure enough, I was able to detach it from the ground and the pillars stayed in place, showing that it had foundation support from above. Nice. And then I wanted to try to spread out a little bit of foundation support on this side as well, just to give me a frame of reference for where to actually build the house, to be able to plan it out. So I wanted to kind of get an idea of that, and at first I was thinking that I would kind of make it like an optical illusion, make it look like it was upside down, but without actually flipping any of the structures. But yeah, the vanilla stone ceilings kind of foiled me on that. I'd forgotten that they have the wooden structure on the underside, so that makes it pretty obvious which side is which. S+ ceilings don't have that. So I thought that I would build from the ceiling down to the ground and then work on flipping a ceiling down there. Since I figured out that I was going to have to flip them the vanilla way using a skiff, which I've never done before, I wasn't entirely sure of how much space it would take up or what exactly I would need. So I re-watched Vlad's video again, and it looked simple enough. He used his ladder to get it straight, and in the comments he mentioned that you don't want to look around using the mouse. Just use the WASD directional keys to go forward, backward, or to the sides to keep the skiff very straight. And then he landed it on these stairs to get it tilted at the right angle for what he was doing. So I tried to build a structure somewhat similar to what he was using in the video, and then I snapped a ladder to the side and promptly fell off because I'm a klutz. So let's try that again. Yeah, ladders are supposed to make it easier to line things up. I'm not entirely sure why I was having trouble, but on the third try I finally got it. And then the skiff landed on one of my burning houses. These are prefabs from Eco's Admin Effects. I didn't want to take a lot of time building ruined structures here that will likely get destroyed in the battle that will take place here. So let's try this again. I've done a lot of building, but I usually just eyeball it to get things straight. I don't use ladders very much. Okay, this time it looks straight. Pop in another one. Alright, that looks good. It's a little tighter in here than where he was building in the video, but that looks pretty straight. And then he said also to use the try to land or whistle flyer to land options. Don't press spacebar to land because that'll be more likely to end up not where you wanted to land. And then we add a pillar and then snap a foundation to the pillar. I didn't want to just follow everything that he did in the video because it's not enough for me to know that something works. I want to know why it works. So I decided to try doing it with stone instead of with metal, like he did. And I wanted to try to flip a wood ceiling because with the greenhouse ones it's a little difficult to tell if it's been flipped or not since they're the same on both sides. Whereas with a wood ceiling, it's very obvious if it's upside down or not. It's getting all kinds of interesting angles, but none of them are the ones I was looking for. I can see why people use this at vanilla building though, because yeah, you can get all kinds of interesting angles. Definitely going to use this from time to time. Even building with mods, because while there are easy ways to tilt things using SS, it's pretty much just one specific tilt angle that I have a shortcut for with SS. In S+, you have the starter block, which you can use to get any angle you want, but so far SS doesn't have that. In his video, he had the triangle tilted at a specific angle. I'm trying to get the angle that he had. Nope, nothing flip. It's just being stubborn. Maybe there's something magical about the greenhouse ceilings. Nope, that's not flipped either. Why does this work? Why did this work for Vlad? If you have a theory about why this worked, make sure to let me know in the comments because I'm really curious about that. Apparently for Vlad, it happened when he was snapping it, when it was flickering, because sometimes when it's flickering like that, you can kind of take advantage of the system being a little confused about the snap points. Nope, the greenhouse ceiling is definitely not upside down, otherwise the stairs would be upside down. Well, Vlad first noticed it was upside down when he put a foundation down, and that snapped upside down. Oh, oops. These foundations are definitely not upside down. So, yeah, nothing has flipped here.
It's a bit rubbish.
Well, I'd better fix my stairs. Oh wait, where did my skiff go? Are you serious? Yeah, I'm not going to get that to line up again. Yeah, skiffs. Not really designed for flying inside a tight little cave. Had a nice idea of trying to land it on one of the cliff platforms, but yeah, I'm not a very good skiff driver. Alright, well, God mode, we can just spawn in another one. Got nice and straight, and just a little bit back, over, and down to the ground. Come on now, cooperate. Ugh, I moved it a little. Now it's not perfectly straight, but come on, it's good enough. Okay, I think this time I'm going to try exactly what Vlad did in the tutorial and see if I can get it to work. And then maybe I'll experiment some other time with trying to see why it works. Sometimes the arc just likes to be mysterious. So that was how he had it, and then he snapped. Oh, wow. That's an interesting angle. Where did that come from? It's upside down! It's flipped upside down! Oh my gosh! No idea why, but it just did. Alright, now we have to try to transfer it off the skiff, and then try to get the upside down ceiling thing transferred to up above. Got the flicker thing going, but it just doesn't want to snap to the door frames. It's still snapping to the skiff. Come on now. I figured getting the skiff just slightly farther away might help. Maybe if I just give it a little nudge. Yeah, that's a nudge. That's a nudge, Ark, huh? Well, I'm not getting rid of the one that has my upside down ceiling, finally. And then, of course, I realized I was being dumb and making this overly complicated. Because I've got a skiff. A skiff can fly, and so I don't have to transfer it to the wall down below and then somehow get that all the way up. Whoa! It happened the very first time? It actually worked, and it's like floating. That's kind of wild. I don't know why it did that, but it did. And I'll take it. It's tilted and upside down. That's not what I was going for, but it's kind of cool. I kind of like that. Let's just make sure it's not attached to the foundation support down there. Nope, it did transfer to the foundation support up above. But somehow it's not connected over on that side of the foundation support. I can't expand over there. So we'll have to add some more pillars, and let's get those at the right angle as well. Back into ghost mode again. Yeah, I think I want stone for the bottom level. Okay, now I want to swap out the foundation support up here, slowly, piece by piece, for some that's tilted at the correct angle. I don't want to get rid of all of this at once though, of course, or I'll lose the structure I've got going. But bit by bit, I'll replace this, making sure that everything is still supported. Alright, and then I'll need to get rid of some of the other pillars up there as well, carefully, one at a time. I need to know what is supporting what, so it helps to have a good understanding of the way foundation support works in this game. So right now, this pillar is connecting the ceiling to these foundations above. And that pillar, that one pillar, is the only thing connecting them. Alright, I've got those cleaned up, and just the one pillar and angled foundations are over here. So let's expand this. I also wanted to get rid of the other ones because I don't want confusing snap points. Snap points at more than one angle would just cause nothing but headaches. And if you run out of foundation support and can't snap another foundation down, then doing a ceiling and pillars to reach more ground is usually my go-to method. That way you can reach sideways and upwards and downwards looking for the ground to give you foundation support and keep the structure all snapped together. Because as long as it's all snapped together like this, then the game sees it as being one structure. So if I was just randomly putting foundations or pillars around without snapping them, then it wouldn't actually help, because they wouldn't be attached to the structure. Now I could swap out those wood ceilings and add more, because I've got enough foundation support. And of course, it makes me nervous having all of this supported by one pillar. So let's add another, and actually I decided I wanted the foundation layer to be closer to the roof of the cave, aka the upside down ground. So I'll spread out my base level for the house and then break the extra on that pillar. I very rarely plan my builds in detail in advance. I'll just have an idea of what I want, and then I just kind of play with it and let it evolve with the terrain. I always like my builds to fit the terrain and just look like they belong on the spot where I'm building them. And that's part of the reason why I've never really built the exact same thing twice. I always tinker with it or change it around a little, and that's why I learn a lot from every build too, because if you experiment, it can help you learn new techniques and new things. Happy accidents.
Don't worry about it. We don't make mistakes. We have happy accidents.
Yeah, that'll be good as a foundation level for the house. And then we'll put walls on the sides, which will make it look like stone foundations. I decided to make it a little smaller. I don't want to make it look like it's being supported by any cliff platforms over on the side or anything I'm going to add over there later. And of course it does help being in ghost mode here, so I can go in and out of the mesh if I need to get some distance in order to make something snap to the right snap point. Okay, let's step back and take a look at the overall size and shape. Let's start messing around with the actual house and how big we want that to be. I've been experimenting lately with some double-stacked, clipped-together walls. This is a technique I originally learned from Aaron Longstaff that I've been using a lot recently in Viking-style houses. I really like the rustic look that it gives to the stone. You see where two ceilings meet? There's actually two wall snap points there, the inner one and the outer one for each ceiling. And I snap a backwards thatch door frame to the outer one and then a stone window wall to the inner one. And then you get some of the texture of the sticks that bind the thatch on the outside of the stone, which just makes it look a little bit more rustic. I'll add some wood pieces to be a porch in the back there, and I might add that to the front as well. Getting the two different snap points upside down was kind of tricky, but after a while you kind of start to get the hang of where the pieces need to be. Sometimes you still break walls though. I like doing stacked walls like this on a smaller building. On a larger base build, I don't do it as much though because it can add to lag. And also, if you're on a server where there's a low structure count, if you start double and triple stacking all your walls, that'll add up pretty fast. I've had most of my ARK experience on servers where I didn't have the ability to change things like the structure limit, and so I've had to learn to build somewhat smaller. Let's add a porch to the front, and I also need another ceiling there anyway in order to be able to double stack the front walls. Need that second snap point up there. One other thing I've learned about structure limits is that it doesn't measure the number of structures from one central location in your base. It measures the structures in relation to one another. So for every wall, it measures how many other structures there are in relation to that one wall in a radius around it, and so on, for all of the structures in your base. And so you can have an easier time building a good-sized functional base without hitting a structure limit if you spread the structures out. Building a lot of smaller buildings spread out over a wider area will work better for structure limits than one ginormous castle, for example. I like these supports for the porch. The wood double doorways work well. And there's the upside-down staircase. It occurred to me, though, that if I want to make it possible for players to be able to actually go into the house, if they can get up there with grapples or whatever, then I'm going to have to make the doorways at least double high, and I'm going to have to make some kind of a ramp up to it. I decided to go maybe one higher with the walls so that it doesn't look quite as claustrophobic, and so that I can get a little fancier with the roof as well. And that's where I ended for the first day of building.
The next day.
Hello there, this is Songbird, and right now I decided to try out a few of the new emotes from this additional emotes mod. Wait, how do I stop dancing? I think I kind of got stuck. Can I stop dancing? Oh well, there you go. Please like and subscribe. Oh, I'm kidding. I'm not gonna beg. Now we're doing another dance. Okay, that's kind of cool. These are fun though. Oh my gosh, it's kind of hilarious. I wish I was that good a dancer in real life. This one seems appropriate. Anyway, I better get to work. Alright, so extending these walls. Oh yeah, and also I added some colored tech lights to the sides of the cave just to make it a little bit more visually interesting. Those are SS tech lights, but they're not part of the build, so they don't count. But yeah, I set them to cycle between a couple different colors, so that's why the walls will be changing colors a little bit. It always takes me a little bit to remember where I left off when I have to leave in the middle of a project, which is probably one of the reasons I don't like to quit in the middle of something, which is one of the reasons I end up staying up far too late at night when I'm playing ARK, much to my poor husband's chagrin. I had to keep backing away from this thing in order to be able to see it properly because it's just such an awkward thing to be building above yourself in game. This is a technique I learned while I was working on a different Viking house, and right side up one, which you'll see in my upcoming tutorial for the mod Scribbles Better Signs, which is to use the fact that ceilings will snap to the corners of other ceilings to give myself 2 wall snap points in the very middle of the roof, which allows me to create kind of a tiered look on a Viking roof. It took me a minute to find those 2 snap points though. I needed 2 walls with 2 snap points because I'm going to use ramps in the middle of the roof instead of sloped ceilings, and vanilla ramps need a wall to snap to the top of. Come on now, cooperate!
Oh, snap!
I'll tell you what though, the janky snap points on this game are maddening, but they are what make possible so many interesting building techniques that we use all the time to do awesome builds. Like a lot of the things Captain Fat Dog does, for example, totally would not be possible without the janky snap points. Same with Aaron Longstaff. I thought I'd try just to see what adobe roofs looked like at first, but I abandoned that idea pretty quickly. It just did not give the Viking vibe I was looking for. I ended up having to add some double doorways on the porch to the side because I forgot that I need a sloped wall there in order to support the sloped roofs down there. I wanted players to be able to get inside if they grapple or fly or whatever up to this upside down house. So I was trying to figure out how they could get up to the door. Then I realized that the door being tilted at an angle like that, I couldn't get through it anyway. I figured maybe I could get away with an upside down stairs above the door there, below it, being like a decorative accent. And sure enough, you could climb upside down stairs, but still could not get through the doorway without crouching. We're going to do layered double doors here. That will fix the problem of people not being able to fit through the door frame. I watched a video once where someone said that building an ark often feels like a negotiation, and this is definitely true, especially when you're building in vanilla, but even sometimes with modded building pieces because of the fact that different mods react to each other differently. Some of them, in their attempts to fix the snap points, kind of create different snap points, which can open up new possibilities, but can also make its own set of problems sometimes, so you kind of just have to play around with it.
You're just making this up as you go along.
Yep.
I do like that. The ramp and the sloped ceiling in vanilla are at different angles. That creates some interesting possibilities. Actually, S Plus doesn't have that. With S Plus, the ramp, the stairs, and the sloped roof are all at the exact same angle. So when I do Viking roofs like this, even if I'm using modded pieces, I'll often use vanilla ramps for the steep part of the roof. It can be tricky to keep track of all the angles and snap points though. Let's put a layer of sloped ceilings above the ramps just to fill out the rest of that tier. Takes some experimenting to get the roof just right. It's definitely a brain twister though. Trying to get it right when everything is upside down. It almost makes my brain tingle to look at it. Yeah, what's going on with this roof sticking out over here? I think... yeah, I need more sloped ceilings over here. Yeah. I just decided the catwalk wasn't doing anything for me and I didn't need the fence foundations, so I picked those up.
No, I know exactly what I'm doing.
Even though I didn't do the adobe roof, I do like the look of the adobe doors. They're kind of rustic looking. So I decided to do adobe doors and I tried to think of all the vanilla decor options that I could think of and test them all in case any of them could possibly snap upside down. Nope, the standing torch won't, the wall torch won't even snap at an angle, the pillar will snap at the correct angle. At least that's something. Maybe I can make it look like a light fixture or something, some kind of lantern. At least have a light inside the house so that there's light shining through the windows. Alright, let's show the world again my skiff driving skills. Skiffs are not my favorite.
Hey, who's driving this flying umbrella?
About the only thing I've used them for before this is trapping reapers and pranking my friends by picking up Diplos or wild Brontos and dropping them in their base. Alright, I need to finish up that one part of the roof. Put some pillars on the corners would be nice too. I need to put some sloped ceilings on the sides so that the angle would match up. There we go. Alright, let's put some pillars for decoration. Pillars will snap to the center of a ceiling and then they'll snap to each other a certain distance away. So I had to snap the first one in the center of the ceiling there in order to enable me to snap another one to the edge of the ceiling. For some reason, though, in the back, it wasn't cooperating. I even tried with a fence foundation, and it still wasn't giving a snap point. I'll come back to it later. Oh, we need some more ramps in that spot, or something. Yeah. Gosh, gotta love the center. Raining in a cave with thunder and lightning. But hey, we're in the Upside Down. We're in the witch's enchanted kingdom in here where who knows what could happen. I kind of like that. Stairs snapping over a ramp. Huh. And let's put some pillars at the top of the stairs. Alright, let's add some roof details. Finally figured out a way to get the pillar to snap on the back porch area. I had to start with a fence foundation on the edge of the ceiling here and pillar up from there. And then once it was snapped intersecting with the roof, it was supported up there, so I was able to remove the fence foundation and the bottom pillars. Well, there we go. We are finally all done. And yes, I'm very excited about it. So here is our upside down Viking house in all its glory. Since I had my paints out to add some accents, I also finally got around to dyeing my armor in my favorite colors, cyan and purple. I'll do a sneak peek of the inside. So I wasn't able to find any vanilla decor that would snap upside down or even tilted. It all snapped straight, which made it look kind of tumbled. And then I decided, you know what? Let's just roll with that. This house is upside down. It looks like somebody picked it up and magically threw it up and glued it to the ceiling or something. So it would make sense for the furniture to be jumbled inside. So I purposely leaned into that and made the inside a jumbled mess of crooked looking furniture. I actually kind of like it. I feel like it fits the vibe of the build. Obviously, this would not be a functional base, but that's not the purpose of it. It was just a decoration. It ended up working out really well, actually, that it was tilted as well as being upside down. That's what made all the decor look like that, because it's actually straight in relation to the ground. And then we can look around the build a little bit. I've got this castle here with lots of weapons in it that will be used to fight the Dodo Rex down below. If you're interested in seeing this build in game, look at the description of the video and think about joining the Architects Cluster. You can actually come to that Halloween event and walk around and see these builds in game and help us defeat the Dodo Rex. And the Dodo Rex will be blocking the door of the cave. So if you want to get out the door, you're going to have to get past this guy. Thanks so much for watching. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And I would love to see you again some other time. So please consider subscribing and clicking that bell for notifications. We'll catch you again next time. Bye-bye.
Everything we saw, everything we lost. I have only one thing to say to you. Bye!